Welcome to Think Big for Africa podcast. On this podcast, we will bring you interesting conversations with local, national, and international African leaders from all walks of life, home and abroad. Leaders who are doing their bits to progress Africa's development. Conversation topics will range from education, science, health, leadership, politics, business, and many other global issues. Conversations about everything that concerns Africa's development. Africa has so many wonderful achievers worldwide, and this is exactly what we will bring to you on Think Big for Africa podcast. Stay tuned.
Hello, welcome to the Think Big for Africa podcast. This is Ekene Banye, your host. Today, I have another very interesting friend of mine. It's a she now. She lives in Nigeria, and she is a tourist expert. And I really want to talk to her about the tourist industry in Nigeria and Africa. Her name is Adun Okupe. Adun, how are you?
Hi, Ekene. I'm well, thank you. And thank you for having me on here. It's an honor.
Thank you for accepting to be here. You know, I've been trying to get you for a long time.
I know.
Anyway, I know how busy you are. And I'm grateful you are here. So let's do this. Just tell my audience a little bit about yourself and your work.
Right. Okay. So just a little bit about myself. I am a tourism professional. So I provide tourism advisory services, looking primarily at destination development, destination management, feasibility studies, policy advisory, and market intelligence for the tourism industry in West Africa. And I also am a member of the faculty at Lagos Business School. I'm in the strategy department, so I teach strategic management and sustainability to senior executives from Lagos, Nigeria, and increasingly now, because of the virtual reality that we all live in, so increasingly now we're also teaching people from other parts of the world.
Okay.
So that's who I am, and actually, no, that's not who I am. That's what I do.
That's what you do. Thank you.
That's what I do. That's not who I am.
Yes.
Yes. Ekene is a dear friend. I think we met in Canary Wharf many years ago.
Yes. 08.
A long time ago.
08. That's it.
2008.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And I remember, what I remember the most was just how open you were about the realities of working in corporate London. And I saw you as someone I could look up to and learn from, particularly with navigating, work environment and professionalism. I would always remember our lunches, etc.
Yeah. So Adun, let me go this way. This is the first conversation I've had with you for maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. The last conversation I had with you was in my house in Watford. Okay, when you visited me. Okay, and since then we haven't really talked. We text once in a while, but and then you haven't developed what you do right now. So for me, it's a new area for you. I'm seeing you in a new area. Before now, you used to work for what's it called again? KPMG. That's true. Yes. And that's where you were working when I met you in Canary Wharf. So tell my audience, give them a little bit of a background of yourself, what you used to do, and let's go from there and then you now tell us how you get into tourism.
Okay. So yes, it's an interesting, I've actually not had this chance to talk about this. Now, most times I'm talking, it's usually about where I am now. So it's interesting to have someone that has seen me from, a different life.
Yeah.
And then how this has navigated. So yes, at KPMG, I worked in corporate tax, did a lot of work in compliance and advisory, which I enjoyed, trained there as a chartered accountant, did projects in infrastructure, government, and healthcare. And I enjoyed it, I must say, but then I started to be quite unwell. And that precipitated the need to start to think about what I really wanted to do in my life and how I saw it fitting. I enjoy travel. I also felt like I wanted to give back to my continent, Africa, in a tangible way. I started to think about how I could connect tax, corporate tax to the African business development. I couldn't really see that connection.
Okay.
And then I don't know, I think it hit me when I went to Italy, and afterwards I went to Dubai. And I thought there must be a way to marry tourism with what I want to do. I'm an economist by training.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go to the behavioral economy side and said, how did we make decisions? So I did a master's in development studies, did political economy, development economics, and then did a PhD in tourism leadership. And that really then, again, I wanted to go into academia. I thought that I would be able to teach. I knew that I enjoyed academia. I wanted to teach. And I always felt like if I came back to the continent, wherever I was, I would have the opportunity to contribute to tourism development through teaching.
Yeah.
Right. But then when I was doing my PhD, I then did some work with the World Travel and Tourism Council, started to see a more expansive view of how I could get involved in policy and research. And then I started consulting for W Hospitality Group.
Okay.
Trevor Ward, I met him at Surrey. He was also an alumni. He was an alumni of Surrey and he lived in Nigeria. And so he showed me the opportunities available. So I used to travel to Nigeria to consult on tourism. Afterwards, I did a postdoc at the University of Edinburgh, again, looking at the continent and leadership. And I just knew that I needed to come back home. And there I am. I came back in 2015. Last time you saw me, I saw you just before I came back.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, so over 6 years.
Almost 6 years, yes.
Okay.
So yes.
Wow. So you have now been in tourism in Nigeria, in Africa for over 5 years. So,
well, no, I would say I've been working in the continent since 2011. So I used to come and go.
Yeah.
Then I moved here to be based here. So I've done this work for 10 years, but I have then been here for over 5 years.
Yeah. Interesting. See, even though I never really looked at it as tourism, but I've always imagined so many things will happen in Lagos. As a child, when I go out with my father, every time we pass certain locations where there was open land, in my mind, I look at it and say, wow, what if this and this and this can be here? I used to do that a lot as a teenager. I used to do that a lot. So in some way, I've been interested in tourism. I really enjoyed my trip to Italy the last few years. I've gone to Italy about 3 times, Milan, Verona, and Verona twice, and then Milan once. I mean, I really, really enjoyed those cities. You see, when I get there, I go to some sites. I check out some sites, and I'm so intrigued about how they have been able to maintain those sites. And people come there from all over the world, and the country and the state and the city make money from that. Now, I know that we have so many places in our country, in the continent. In fact, as a child, we used to go to Badagry, go to check out the slave
route and
huh?
the slave route and the relics of slave
Yes,
trade.
you know, we did that as a child. We went to, there's so many places in Delta State that I was able to go to for tourism, even though my Delta State is my state. That was where I was born. But I went to those places for tourism. My father just took me, let's go here. And then he would start telling me the stories about those places. Well, my father was a historian, so he knew all those places. Anyway, see, so why I'm saying this is that there are so many things in a country that we can showcase to the world, but we have not been doing that. You know, so do we really understand the benefits of tourism? And then why, if we do, why are we not really focusing on tourism in our country?
Well, that's a great question. I have to say, and just as you're talking, I remember some of my childhood and that sense of wonder of visiting sites and different places and just being amazed at what existed around the world. Obviously, I was a child, and so I just thought, wow, this is a wonderful experience. But for me, I look at it as, so like I said, I'm an economist by training. I look at it as an economic equation, right?
Yeah.
So we have 4 hours in the day, we're supposed to work for 8 hours, sleep for 8 hours, and then the other 8 hours is meant for leisure, right? Leisure activities. And I like to say that because a lot of the time when we think of tourism, we always think of some external person coming from somewhere to somewhere else. But what you've defined and saying from leaving Lagos to go to Delta State, that is tourism because you've left for 24 hours to visit or for business. But my point here is that even what the residents do in their own spaces, the leisure activities, right, the recreational activities, those all contribute to the tourism industry because it's the same thing that any visitor coming from out of town and out of state will get involved in. And so the benefits are, once you see it that way, it's important that you have leisure time. You know, if you work, they say all work and no play makes you dull. But not only that, you don't expand your horizon. You don't get to see a little bit more about where you live, understand the culture, the heritage, the antecedents of how things have evolved, and unlock parts of one's brain where you get to really learn. It also anchors a sense of community. You feel more attached to a sense of place. You feel like you belong. And more than anything, I would say it contributes to the enhancing of quality of life. And so it's a very holistic approach. For many, it's the livelihoods from the economic benefits, the social-cultural, i.e. the people, the customs, the practices, but also even learning new arts, new crafts, etc. And then the final one is environmental. So it gives that sense of appreciation for the place where you are and also how to preserve that environment, that natural environment. So those are the benefits that I would say of tourism and leisure, right? I would want to encourage more of us to engage in it. I mean, some still do to some extent, but it's important that we engage in it more intentionally. And we haven't been doing that. For example, when you travel to the village for a wedding, a burial, that's part of tourism, right? But again, it's saying that once you go there, what else are you doing there? A lot of us just go for the ceremony and leave. Is that sense, how are you able to then understand more about that place and appreciate it for what it is and the people who live there?
Yeah. I mean, again, I'll talk about my father because my father, we have been living in the Western Nigeria since the mid-70s.
Okay.
My father, unfortunately, he cannot speak one word of Yoruba, but that man knows villages across all the states in the West, from Ondo, Akure, Oyo, Oshun. He knows villages. When I say village, because my father he has a lot of friends. That's one. And two, he just likes to know things. He just, in the morning, he might just say, I'm going to Oshun to see somebody. And then he will tell you when he comes back, he will tell you every place he went to. I mean, I never saw that as tourism, but I'm looking at that in the light of what you had just said.
Yeah.
That's what he was doing. He goes there, he buys something unique about that town or village, and he brings it home. And he has always done that for 30 years.
Why did he do that? Did you ask him?
Well, he just likes to know things.
It's a curiosity.
Yeah, he's very curious. That's exactly why I'm so curious myself. I'm curious about everything. You know?
I know.
Yeah. You know, so he does that consistently. Now that he's retired, this is what has kept him alive. He still does the same thing. He just leaves home. He's going to one place. He goes, and then he comes back in 2 days. He has gone to somewhere he never knew, and he does that consistently. Talking about tourism and the state of security in our country, with the herdsmen crisis, the banditry, how, of course, these things will definitely affect the desire of anybody to leave their secure location to travel to one place or the other. So you, as an expert in that industry, what are you guys doing? Talking to the people who make policy, who have the security apparatus of the state. Because with these things, tourism will simply die. Because I wouldn't want to travel to somewhere where I can get kidnapped. So what are you guys doing about it? And then let's say, what is the government doing about it?
Right. Well, I think it's a few things. I don't think it's the sense of the fact that these things are happening is what is preventing people from traveling. Because if we look around the world, there's a global security issue, right? Around the world, there's shootings, there are assaults, there's violence, right?
Okay.
In London, in New York, in America, everywhere we hear in the news, in France, in South Africa, etc. My point is, it's not that these things don't happen. The difference is how they are treated and how they are handled, right?
Okay.
So what the issue here is that people are a bit afraid that if something does happen to me, what are the measures that are going to be taken to either make sure it doesn't happen again, to make sure I am okay, to make sure, that there's a sense of security and there's a sense of safety. And so it's that perception of safety that I think is very important. And incidentally, we had our roundtable. We started this West Africa Tourism Roundtable, which is basically a platform to bring leaders across the sub-region together to talk about the issues that we had. And yesterday's was on health because COVID-19.
Okay.
Safety, online and offline safety, and security. And we had very, very good deliberations because, again, it's this cross-section of different industries coming together to say, how do we solve this problem? And one of the things that we identified was the need to, first of all, have a sense of awareness. So what are we doing about it? So I know that in some states that we've worked with, just for example, Ekiti State, we've worked with them on tourism, we've worked with them in Lagos State on tourism, and Ogun State as well. Part of what they're trying to do is they have a security trust fund or security force that is directly responsible for ensuring that we need to ensure that these spaces and these destinations are kept safe. Now, that takes quite a while, right? And that takes some time. And security is an expensive endeavor, particularly when you have states that are trying to generate internal revenue. And so then the question then comes, how do we handle this? Why do we have the issue? How do we handle the root cause of the issue? Because sometimes if you say, okay, what is the, why do we have insecurity? And part of what we're trying to say is tourism can be a vehicle for addressing some of these challenges. First of all, it provides livelihoods, it provides jobs. Communities feel part of it, and so they feel responsible for making sure that spaces are safe because they see the direct benefits to themselves.
Yeah.
And it also means that some of the issues we have, which is this sense of youth disenfranchisement, which is this sense of almost a sense of, I want to say that it's erupting as anomie, when everyone just feels like they can do whatever, is because we need a vision and a hope in the future. And part of what tourism tries to do, and I'm not saying tourism is a panacea for everything. I don't think tourism can solve problems. But part of what we're trying to do here is to really say, you know what, life can be enjoyed. These are what you have. Rural to urban migration can be stemmed. This is how we develop the rural communities. This is what we need to do to ensure that it's sustainable. It's not that you're importing what you've seen elsewhere and bringing it here. And so there are all these different conversations and all these different measures, because trust me, the states also know, and it's about the safety of your residents. You want people to feel safe living, working, and going about their daily activities. The tourism part is simply saying, how do we catalyze this a lot more for visitors? So there's a lot of work happening. Trust me, we speak to them and we speak to different security agents, forces, etc. There's also the need for more intelligence and a lot more level of community level policing, because what we found is how our police structure, how our police force is structured, right? With this sense of national, they say we should have this sense of national, what do we call it? National, oh, I can't remember what it's called, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But there's this sense of we need to have, it's why we have NYSC anyway.
Yeah.
Is this, we need to have a national something, it'll come. Basically, it means that you're supposed to move around the country and be posted to different parts. But that already has issue for community level policing, where the police is not part of the community, does not understand the culture. In some regard, I mean, Nigeria is a very heterogeneous society in terms of culture and customs. So there's already that tension in how we see police and policing. And so how do we handle some of those things? So there's really a lot of unpacking that needs to be done. I am happy that the conversation has started. What I told you now was given to me by a former commissioner, Inspector General of Police, in terms of just understanding the evolution of the police force and some of the issues we have, particularly in northern Nigeria. And it's that sense of root cause needs to be solved. Poverty. And a sense of hope in Nigeria.
That's I mean, without addressing the root cause, these things may continue for a long time.
Exactly.
I mean, I understand what you were trying to say about the police, posting them from place to place. It doesn't allow them to build
federal character. That's it, federal character.
See, unfortunately, it for policing, it doesn't work, because, like you said, the police need to have a communal identity. With, you know, they say the policeman who is effective in my neighborhood must be one that people in the neighborhood trust.
Exactly.
And to trust someone in a police uniform, it takes time. You know, they need to build that rapport with the community. Exactly. So if you bring them in and within a year or two they go somewhere else, it doesn't allow them to build that kind of rapport. For me, I would rather the people in the police in my neighborhood are people who live there, who have vested interest in the community. And that's my 5 cents on that. So I know for a fact we used to have several festivals. There was one I think in Niger State, Arugungu Fishing Festival.
Oh.
Yes. And there was one that was started in Ujo some years ago, you know. So this festivals attracts so many people to the state. I don't know if it's still if the same thing is still going on. So what kind of festivals, tourist festivals do we have in Nigeria right now? And then maybe some other places in Africa. See, why I'm asking this is I want people to know these things are going on. I want people to travel to see this, to enjoy these festivals. I have friends who go to Rio.
For the carnival.
Yeah, every year. I know people who do that. Okay, so we need to promote our own festivals. So what festivals do we have?
Oh, we have a lot of festivals.
Really?
Yes, we have many festivals, and they range in different parts of the country.
Yeah,
right?
I know your festival in Lagos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In Lagos, different states also have their own festivals, right? What's a festival? Festivals are usually celebrations, most times religious, but other times like the jazz festival or literary festivals that we have now, it's really that sense of bringing together certain performances that people can come and celebrate, right? And so what I'm saying is that the festivals are also evolving, as they should, right? And so we have the religious ones, the traditional ones, and we also have those that are now looking at book festivals. So for example, the Ekene book festival that happens annually as well, which is basically about celebrating the best of African literary culture.
Really?
Yes. And the other ones that I wanted to talk about was the Oshogo Festival, which is in the Sacred Groves in Oshogo.
Okay.
And really about, by the river Oshun, and it's to celebrate the river deity.
Okay.
We have the Yam Festival. Yam is very important to
certain... Yeah, that one is, it happens in my village. Yeah. In fact, exactly. when my mom was alive, she doesn't eat new yam until the new yam festival happens. She doesn't eat it. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. So there's that as well. We have the fishing festival that you mentioned in Kebbi State. And then in the East, they have Ofala Festival, which is again to begin the new year, to honor the traditional ruler and the wisdom of the traditional ruler. It's every year. In Ogun State, they have Ojude Oba, where they're trying to talk about how to pay homage again to the ruler. And it's usually celebrated just after the Eid al-Kabir festival. We have the Durbar in the north, right? And that is really looking at celebrating. You have people riding horses. It's very colorful.
Yeah. I've seen that on TV. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to attend one. I will do that very soon.
So so we have the Durbar in Kano. And then, we can go on and on. We have film festivals now, Felabration, again to celebrate Fela. We have the Calabar Carnival. We have the Jazz Festival. We have, different festivals that also still happen. And what I love about it is this appreciation of the fact that we come from a place of history.
Yeah.
This history anchors us, and we continue to see how it manifests day to day. Example, New Yam is respecting the seasons. The Oshogo again is respecting the deity, water, the different manifestations that we have of in Yoruba we call it Olodumare, i.e. the God, the person that is infinite, wonderful, also, and all of those expressions are forms of expressions, connect us to who we are as people. And I think that we should continue to absolutely celebrate them.
Yeah. See,
we have a lot, and people do celebrate them. People travel from different parts of the world.
Yeah, we need to promote them. We need to promote them because, see, for me now, everything I try to do is all connected to Africa. I'm telling you,
Nice. That's great.
You know, everything I do is connected to Africa, because for me, Africa has so many things that the world need to know about.
Absolutely.
You know, so yeah. So is there a site where people can learn something about any of these festivals, and then maybe book their tickets to those festivals? Is there a site?
What I would say is, I mean, you can search on Google for these sites, right? For this information. Sadly, we don't have yet a compendium of these different festivals, and that's something we should do.
That's something we need.
We need to do that, just like a festival list of what's happening. We're working with Lagos State on doing that in Lagos. And then the other thing I would say is Instagram. Instagram is really where most people go to put up this information. So anyone who's interested can follow most of the tour guides, travel operators, and travel.
Well, it's good. It's good. Tour guides put out information, but well, I don't know how these things the states can come in, but somehow the states need to show their commitment to these things by having those sites where the Nigerian Tourist Commission, whatever it is, I'm just so need to have a comprehensive list of these festivals, and then when you click on it, now take you to that particular site, that particular festival site, where you can learn as much as you want, you know, and most importantly, where you can book your ticket. You see, until we understand these things, we'll never make money, we'll never grow tourism and make money from it, you know.
So you're right. And actually, I've written that down now. I think it's something we can do. It's just that we're doing quite a lot. And sometimes I find that the danger, this is Red Clay, the organization I work with. But sometimes it's like everyone comes up with these things and we have to do it. But you know what? I think it's something we can do fairly easily.
And it's maybe it's time for you to shove that out to some other organization, maybe government, you know?
Oof, government.
See, I'm just trying to see if things have changed.
Things are changing.
Okay.
Changing.
Okay.
But government can't do it. This is not something government should do.
Yeah.
List of the festivals that happen in the state can easily be done by we can easily do that in our organization.
Yeah.
Government, I think, should just be about providing the enabling environment, providing the access, and providing the structure, the policies, the guide.
Yeah.
What happens. So we shouldn't have government
really. So
these things.
I agree with you. And then, hey, someone should sit down and write down an economic strategy, why these things are important, and so someone should do it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said before, when I was young, I used to see my imagination was so large, man.
As it still is,
you know. Well, maybe so. See, when we went to Badagry, and I saw the first time I went to Badagry, I was about 7 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we normally go to Babbage several times a year. My mother, my father, you know. So one of those times I asked my father, that beach at Badagry and this one, what's the difference? And then my father explained to me that he when we got home, he brought an atlas, And then he showed me that beach, there is the same beach, but in different places in Lagos. So that beach goes around up to River State. I said, wow. So that was when I started dreaming and thinking to myself, wow, why don't this road, the Babbage Road, go straight all the way down to Rivers? So whenever I travel to Delta with my father, we can just go on that road so that we can see the beach all the way down. And then, that was how the idea came to my mind, you know. So the question is this: why can't we do it?
We can do it.
I know that there are environmental issues. Yes. Okay. So apart from that, what else is holding us from doing it?
The will. We can do it. We can do it. It's that, why haven't we done it? It's the will. I have to also remind us that Nigeria is a developing country, and what that means is that there are several pressing challenges that people have for the existence of daily life. Poverty still remains a big issue. Access to water, So my point is, sometimes the priority isn't the same. But what I like to argue is that the infrastructure required for tourism development is the same infrastructure required for business, right? And for the free flow of people from place to place. And so what you're saying means that we need to start to think about these things more. And when I went to Singapore, for example, it's that sense of, you can have it's a city state, but you can have a place where basically, even if you want functional infrastructure, it can still be aesthetically pleasing, which enhances the tourism value of that infrastructure. And so it's how to fuse those together that I think is where the real work starts. And the real work should start. And part of that is saying, you want that those that live in a destination, for example, in Lagos, should enjoy living there.
Yeah.
You see?
See, because for me, many times when I stay a lot, and I think about so many things, and I said to myself, wow, yes, because I used to think about the population of Nigeria and Africa, and I say, wow, how can we have work for all these young people? But every time I think about it, and I think about any particular sector of the economy, there's so many things to be done. So many things to be done. So in terms of work, the work will be there. Okay. But someone need to start those things.
Ignite it.
Yeah. And that's where we are lacking. To me, sometimes I think we are not imaginative enough. I think
it's a mix of things. I think it's a mix of imagination. It's a mix of confidence. It's a mix of know-how. It's also a mix of this sense of individualism. A lot of us think that once we have whatever we need, we think about ourselves alone. But it's actually, what I believe is that those of us who are supposedly elite, either in terms of intelligentsia or in terms of, however you define elite, that is the responsibility. We have a responsibility to ensure that wherever we are is developing. And it's important that we see that this sense of this African communal characteristic that people talk about, we need to start to embody it more in terms of how we
I agree with you.
Our society, And until we do that, and until we move towards that, we are still going to continue to talk like this. And it is not impossible. You know why? Because if we look at the 70s, if we look at the 60s, if we look at independence, pre-independence, if you look at the different people that came together for saying we must move somewhere, right? Is that sense of how do we reignite that sense of passion for the place that we call home, or for the place that we connect to as part of our, parents' heritage.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility. And until we take that responsibility, and we have responsibility both for doing, but also for inaction. And so if we are being irresponsible, then it's not about saying who will bell the cat. We all should be belling the cat in our different forms.
Areas. Yes, that's true. That's true. Now, you said, what do you mention? Know-how. See, know-how is the least of the problem we have, because see, when somebody has the imagination, there is nothing in the world that is new. Okay, if you have the imagination and the drive, then the know-how is there, is somewhere else on the planet. Okay,
can find it or find someone who has it. Yes, absolutely. It's the will. It's actually the will. Yeah, is the will. That's the truth. Is the will. Well, but I think it's changing. I want to say that it's changing. I feel like more of us are seeing that we have the agency. We're seeing that there's nobody that we're waiting for to do anything for us. Yeah. And so that sense is changing as well, and it's demystifying. People are trying to get involved in politics, in policy, in research, in nation building. And my hope and my prayer is that we can only continue in that trajectory. And I love what you're doing, because I feel like once you provide this space for many stories, more others can connect and say, okay, this person is doing X in this way. Okay, and then see areas for also cross-pollination of ideas and impact. Yeah. Sometime this week, I saw a post on your wall, your Facebook wall, and I want to know more. It's you were in a group. The post sent something about Friends of Nigerian Wildlife. So what is that? What is that group about? Right. Well, that group, that was the initial event. And basically, again, it's this sense of bringing people together that operate across various industries and sectors that interface with wildlife. And it's this sense of Nigeria has rich biodiversity, rich biodiversity. Yeah. We have ecological habitats. We have wildlife that are unfortunately at severe risk of, well, they're endangered. Yes. And at of extinction. And again, is this sense of who's going to build the cat? You know what, if we come together, if we create this group, then we can have our objectives and say in our different areas of work. My work, for example, I do work with destinations, and some of those destinations have forests, some of those destinations have woodland, some of those destinations also have water bodies. And it's that sense of how am I taking responsibility for that and creating awareness, but also how do I have the awareness to tell my clients that, you know what, this space that you have, you need to think about it this way, you need to think about sustainable tourism, etc. So the Friends of Nigerian Wildlife basically brings different people from across this value chain of wildlife, of preservation, conservation, and protection. Okay. And so how do we all work together to address these challenges? And how do we also celebrate our successes? And so that was the evening reception that we had. We had it at the British Deputy High Commissioner's residence, and we also had the British High Commissioner come from Abuja for the event. So it's also quite important that it's priority. And what I was speaking to the High Commissioner, and she was talking about how, these things are, they're national issues, but they also have international implications, right? And so, for example, why do we have poaching for elephants? Because of their tusks, right? Ivory. Kenya had to deal with it extensively, and they had to come up with strategies to criminalize these things, these activities. And so again, how do we also come together to create a unified unified structure such that what is banned in Lagos is not then allowed in or permissible in state, or what a 2-year penalty is not something that is 50,000 naira fine. So again, is that sense of how do we ensure that we're able to achieve the objective, which is conservation, preservation, and protection.
See, this is very, very good and very interesting because hey, one of the things I've done a lot of research on in the last few years is climate change. Okay, so I'm very oh yeah.
You're giving me heavy topics. This was
no. See, as a scientist, it is the most important topic in the world. Even though it's not my favorite topic. My favorite topic is consciousness. Okay, and oh yeah. By far, I spend time on that. Anyway, climate change is very, very important, and sometimes, see, I talk to a lot of young Africans, mostly on Facebook, and I have a list of about 10,000 people I send emails to, so we talk from time to time, and I try to engage them in these discussions. But one thing I found is that there are very few people who even understand the dangers of climate change in Africa, even though we are going to be the ones who bear the brunt, most of the brunt in the next few years. So I'm concerned that our people do not understand what is going on. You see, the last time I was in Lagos, once I came out from the airport, the fumes everywhere. I say, wow, we are like China now. That's China, the capital city. What's it called again? Beijing. So I see the amount of fumes from generators. Everybody in Lagos, every flat, not even house, every flat has 1, 2, 3 generators, and it's not sustainable. So when it comes to tourism, how, like when I was talking about the road by the beach from Lagos to rivers, I know, see, that to secure ecologies will be the biggest challenge. Okay, if ever we want to build that road, okay, because I'm sure there's so many ecosystems along the way which must be preserved. So what is Nigerian tourism doing? Do they do any apart from the one you guys did? What else do you guys do? Yeah, what else do you guys do to what's the word now? To enlighten the public about those things, if you guys ever do that?
Of course we do. I mean, part of what I also do in my daily activities, I said I'm part of Lagos Business School, where I work on strategy. I teach sustainability and strategic management, and we are seeing a sense of awareness of sustainable tourism and also sustainability in general. Because what we're finding, and even simply not even just from an environmental perspective, although of course the environmental is important, right? I mean, we did a project looking at safety in Lagos State. And one of the key issues that the respondents said made them feel unsafe was because of flooding when it rains. Because
exactly.
If your home floods, how do you then, what do? You're basically homeless, right? And then how safe are you, your family, your things? And the same with wastewater management, right? Wastewater, we have some issues and challenges with that. My point is, we are seeing the effects of a mix of bad design, bad implementation of urban planning, but also an over reliance, or not over reliance, and a pressure. Too many people are trying to use resources that are for a smaller number of people.
Yes.
But when you then add the fact that climate change is a real issue into the mix, basically it's just a recipe for
disaster.
Disaster, exactly. And what is happening now is that I'm part of certain organizations, certain bodies, certain think tanks, working groups looking at circular economy. So again, trying to see how do we move things from a linear economy to a circular economy, not simply just from a manufacturing perspective, trying to reduce waste, but also from a knowledge perspective, how do we ensure that the ecosystem learns? But then finally, how do we also ensure that in how we're building our societies, we're trying to make these societies smart, resilient. Should we be making the societies resilient? Resilient means that something is at tension all the time. What we need to do is to say, how do we enhance quality of life and living? And so the conversation continues. I'm excited about these conversations. Also at the federal level, we're having conversations. And the idea is hopefully that these conversations will move towards action.
Okay.
I'm part of the Nigerian Economic Summit group. They have a thematic work group for sustainability that I'm part of. They also have for climate change. So there are policies in place and there are avenues that are being enforced. What I think we need to do more of is to almost let more people know what's happening, more people know about projects that are taking place and how they can also connect with it, and also how we can learn from our indigenous knowledge systems and apply some of these to address these challenges that we face.
In Nigeria, is there any program or programs on Nigerian TV that even talk about these things at all?
Again, are there regular programs? I don't know, but I do know that, for example, I know that Arise TV has invited people to come and talk about some of these challenges. They try to bring people to really understand the zeitgeist of what's happening in society and see how we can navigate that. But of course, I agree that maybe we need to have content for children, right? At school, right? Or after school television that they can watch and learn, or radio jingles that they can. It really brings this to the.
Because
you're right.
You talk about the flooding. I remember when I was in Nigeria. I mean, when it's rainy season, see, I used to pride myself that I was one of the best drivers in Lagos, because I swim the ocean in on my way to work. I mean, that what's that road called in Ikoyi, leading to the bridge? I forgot what it's called. No, the main road that leads to the bridge to cross from Ikoyi to VI.
Oh, that's Kingsway. That's
Kingsway. See, yes. I've swam. I'm not saying drove. I've swam that road several times. See, even for my neighborhood in Bagada phase 2, to come out from my streets, I swim. So see, the like talk about bad design, and more importantly, people put dirt, plastic, everything in the gutters.
Yeah.
See? So we need to teach our people the impact of those things, and we need, until we start doing that, then those things won't change.
No, they won't change at all
until we start hammering on it all the time. And well, I'm even though you're not environmental scientist, but I think from a tourist point of view, it's good for us to have a clean environment to attract people.
For sure. And it's good for us to have a clean environment for the residents.
Yeah.
Because there's a health issue.
Exactly.
We have communicable and non-communicable diseases.
Yeah.
And then we also have a quality of life issue, and as well as visitor attraction.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So those things are they are needed. They are needed. So
I agree.
see, this topic is a little bit sensitive, but I'm happy that this is the question I had to tell you beforehand, because it's something personal. So we have something in common apart from being friends. Okay, we suffered a neurological ailment within a year apart. Now, you told me something, so I won't call what happened to you a stroke, but I had a stroke.
I spoke to you the day before, remember?
Yeah. Because we were supposed to have lunch by my office, okay, and I didn't see you. Okay, I didn't see you. I tried to call you. I didn't hear from you. I couldn't call you, and I was annoyed. Okay, and I told you. Okay, I was annoyed, and you called me one day in June while I was in a restaurant in London.
That's correct.
And I started shouting on you.
Yes.
I told you, why didn't you call me? Blah blah blah. And you told me I had a stroke. And I said to you, so what? see, whoever is listening to this is the dumbest thing that anybody can ever say to someone who tells them I had a stroke. But that was me, okay? That's what I told my friend. I said to her, so what? Okay, now that will tell you something. I didn't know anything about a stroke. Okay, now we talked. I said we decided we'll see each other whenever she is in town. Yes. And then that was in June. Well, lo and behold, on 22nd of August, that same year, just 2 months after I spoke to her, I had a stroke. Okay, now this is the thing. It has been 10 years. In fact, it's going to be 10 years next month that I had a stroke. I'm still going through my rehabilitation. I'm disabled right now. One side of my body, I'm still, it's not okay. I still have difficulty speaking, even though anybody listening to me would think I'm okay, but I have a lot of issues speaking. I have a lot of difficulty pronouncing certain words. Adun, she told me that her diagnosis has been changed a little bit. So what was that diagnosis?
I mean, as you're saying this now, I'm amazed. 10 years ago, I remember February 15th, February 15th, 2011. I'll never forget. And I mean, to all intents and purposes, it was like a stroke. It mimicked a stroke. So they thought it was a transient ischemic attack, so TIA. and then they thought it was something else. I can't remember. But I was in the acute stroke unit at Euston Square for a while. I went in an ambulance, and I mean, my hand was like this for a very long time.
Yeah.
To be honest, 10 years down the line, that's partly my phone. Everything I carry with my left hand falls down because I still don't have as much grip with this side and my left side is still quite weak, although I would say that mine wasn't as severe as yours.
Yeah.
And so you remember this conversation, rather, that sometimes I forget things a lot. I never used to forget things before. So even I'm trying to remember something and I can't remember it. But one thing I know that really helped me was I would always thank my mother for helping me, because I don't know how she got it, but she got this book on stroke survivors, and she used to read to me a story every day. Initially, it used to annoy me. I mean, she was helping me brush my teeth. This is the first time I'm saying this in a recorded, like in a public sphere. I've never discussed this in 10 years, and not because of anything. It just hasn't come out. So I'm thankful that you asked this, because a lot of people say, "Oh my gosh, Adun, you look like you have everything together," and I'm thinking, if only you knew. And I mean, so I've had to adjust. Having to learn about survivors has been very impactful. Sometimes I also speak a bit slower, but there was a time I used to stammer. I couldn't speak well. I think it was aphasia or dysphagia, I can't remember.
Aphasia,
Aphasia, that's it. And speaking on the phone, that's why I still don't really enjoy speaking on the phone. It gives me headache most times. And just that sense of disconnection. And one thing I would say is that it taught me, and we're going to come to that, right? Because you mentioned something about consciousness. And for me, it's been this journey.
That's why I'm so interested in it. Okay.
Yes.
Because my journey has led me on that path. Okay?
Exactly.
Well, see, if I turn my camera to my library, you see, even though I have difficulty reading, but I have listened to the audios. So any of the books I listen to the audio, I buy the copy. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I buy the copy and I tell my daughters, I do that to show you girls what daddy has been doing. So continue. You're saying.
That's powerful. We'll come to that. And so for me, one thing that has helped has been I had physiotherapy. I had to have occupational therapy. I had to learn how to walk. And this was humbling. I was taught put one leg in front of the other and then put the other leg. And you think to yourself, right, that goodness, what has happened? But now I see every day, it really taught me something. One, to be humble. Two, to believe that people are working to the large extent to the best of their capability. I used to be a very excellent, exceptional performer, super achiever, we know all of these things, right? And being a bit slower has made me just that little bit more empathetic to others. I'm not saying that I wasn't empathetic before, but it has been heightened. And I think that it has also allowed me to really seize the day, because literally I was with friends one night, the next night I was at a stroke unit for X amount of days, being fed through a straw type thing. I can't even remember. But going forward, one thing that has helped is that I've had to adapt my work practices around it. I had to withdraw from my Ph.D. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't talk. So I withdrew from my Ph.D. for a few months, took up horse riding because there was something about being on a horse that just helped you psychologically. And just having a very supportive family. My mom, my brother, my friends were extremely supportive. And even now, I mean, don't get me wrong, it hasn't been easy. I mean, people that tell me that, oh, you've had this, oh, maybe I can't date you because what if it happens again? But then I met someone who says, you know what, you have this, even me too, I have my own, and it's that sense of so what? And for me, you just realize that it also shows you, again, different human beings at different times. Work, I've had to adapt in terms of some days. Now I'm better, but before I used to try to still do things at the former capacity, and I'll wake up, I can't walk. Some days, so working in academia and working for myself in tourism has been very good. My work has also been therapeutic because I get to see beautiful sights, I get to connect with nature, it's restorative. And I would say that it's just being coping mechanisms, adapting, and being honest with my abilities and my I mean, if I do my hand like this, you can see it's shaking. Like I'm not shaking my hand, it's shaking, right? So I have those things, but if I don't tell you, you won't, not that it's not like I'm hiding it. I actually think we should talk more about it. And now that we've had this conversation, once it's shared, I will share it, because it's important that people should see that in spite of our weaknesses, in spite of our challenges, it's really whatever we face today. So I see every day as a gift. I see every day that I can talk, I can walk, I can get out of my bed. I mean, it still continues. So now they said it's cervical spondylosis. Sometimes they think it looks like this, it looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I've decided? Whatever it is, as long as I'm able to continue my day, I continue it to the best ability. And I mean, I did go through some level of existential crisis, which is why consciousness has been useful. I did, Deepak Chopra 21 Day of Abundance. I've done Eckhart Tolle. I've read a lot of Herman Hesse's book, Siddhartha. I've come back to Christianity. Before I had a bit of like, why would God let this happen to me? But it's again, I think it's the journey of life. And I honestly am thankful that it's happened now, because it happens for some people later on in life.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I'm saying that it should happen to everybody, but I feel like it has helped me really crystallize very clearly what my life ought to be about. Because, like I was 25. No, I was 26. I just turned 26. I was 25, and then I turned 26. I was 25 when it happened. I'm 36 now, and you just think to yourself, what? But all of that is to say, whoever is listening, whatever challenges that we're facing, it's about finding the right support people, the right support system. I used to check online a lot to find people that had gone through this and read stories of survival. I had to decide within myself that I had to survive, whatever survival meant. It wasn't even about money. So now people say, Adun, you're not even concerned about money. And I'm thinking, I've never really been concerned about money, but now even less so, because, are you joking? I feel like I have a new list of
life. Yeah. See, all you said is basically the same for me. I wake up every day and I need to spend at least 30 minutes to release the tension in my hand and feet. Okay. I'm telling you, if I wake up at night to maybe use the bathroom, sometimes I nearly crawl because I can't even stand. That is my day. Okay. Now I'm talking about what happens to me now. Yeah. See, but before I sat down to do this podcast, I did a 2-mile walk.
Yeah, you said so.
Yeah. And in the summer, I try to do it every day. Okay. Even though when I start working, it's very difficult. But once my limb is warm, it gets easier.
Of course.
Okay. So the thing is that when my body is, maybe the weather is cold, when the weather is cold, I can't even walk. That's the truth, and I can't read. Okay. Let me change this. I can read, but if to read a page would take me 30 minutes. A page I could read within 10 seconds in the past.
Guys, Ekene that I know. The Ekene I was slow. Ekene was on fire.
Now, the interesting thing is this. I can write like I speak right now. Okay?
Oh, wonderful.
I can write like I speak, but when I write, to read it back to myself, I can't do that. It's difficult. So
it's amazing, isn't it? And then for me, it's that sense of you now start to look at your body with wonder and be like, oh my goodness, I will never take this for granted.
Yeah. See, life is interesting. See, I would say this, even from the day I was in a hospital, to today, I have never asked myself, why me? Never.
I did.
I did. See, I never did. I was never depressed. No.
I was depressed. I had to have a therapist.
I went to the psychology. They put me through several of their tests, and I was never depressed. And to today, I've never been depressed. That's why the only thing I couldn't do in the first, I couldn't speak at all for nearly 4 years. So it took me a long time to start to speak. Okay. Excuse me.
By the way, this is Ekene speaking slowly. My Ekene.
This is me. So the good thing is this. I tell people this. It seems, and I don't recommend it for anyone. As a coach now, I tell people, I waited for me not being able to do what I was doing to realize that I was in the wrong place in the first place. I tell them, don't wait for things to happen to you for you to realize that you are not in the right place. Now is the time for you to sit down and ask yourself, my work, is it giving me any joy? My relationships, are they giving me any joy? And if not, start thinking. See,
that's what I tell people. I tell my friends, I do this same. I mean, I'm not a coach yet because I still want to look at doing that. But I really talk to younger ladies, 25 to 32. And it's that sense of you must really be doing what you enjoy to do. It must bring you joy. And it's not about money. It's not about
money. No.
It's this Japanese word of ikigai. What you enjoy should also be something that is use to people around you. And it should also feel your passion, and you should be able to make a living from it.
Yeah.
So if you can fuse all of those together, then there's a sense of self-fulfillment, which is powerful.
See, once you can identify what you want, then a coach can help you craft it in a way. Yeah. See, no matter what you want, what you like in life, we can help you craft something from it. For you to be able to do it and be able to make a living.
Exactly.
But you need to decide, is it money you want or you want joy? See, once you make a decision, then
it
life is good.
Yes, I feel like I put something on my status. I saw it. It's like the decisions you make today is what determines what happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think once we're a little bit more conscious about all those decisions, not a sense of fear, but a sense of intentionality. And so we don't make careless decisions and we don't make passive decisions.
You just said this. Intention.
Intentional.
See, most people live their life unconsciously. All true. They don't make any decision intentionally. And when things don't work, they start saying, what happened? No, you were unconscious. You were not.
We bring consciousness, you see, because I think if we look at our educational system, we're taught to go through certain things. Everything is taught for you. And then you become an adult and you're like, you need to start doing all these things. Goodness, how? It's challenging.
Yeah. See, it's interesting. Life is interesting. See, for me, once this pandemic is over, my goal is to travel around Africa, everywhere. I mean, oh yeah. See, that's the joy. Traveling, seeing people, talking to people. See, now, why was I able to regain my ability to speak? It was because, for me, from day one, when I was in hospital, I told myself, my life is speaking. This is what
in hospital, and I was thinking, hey, this is a wait, just calm down.
See, my life is speaking. So in my mind, that's what I told myself. And that's why I'm able to speak today. Even though I'm still struggling with my physical abilities. So, well, I don't want to go into anything spiritual. Well, by the way, I'm not a religious person, but for me, I know that this universe is a spiritual universe, and what you focus on comes true for you, even though if you know or you don't know, it comes true. And let's leave that. Let's leave that. So Adun, thank you for being here. So let me ask you my last question for you. What do you see in your mind's eye for tourism in Africa in 20, 30 years?
For me, the future is bright.
Okay.
And I base that on what I've already seen.
Okay.
In the last 5 years, if you look at what's happening in West Africa, I mean, on the continent, but I like to focus on where I have expertise.
Yeah.
We can see that Ghana has done quite, they've leapfrogged in terms of tourism, right? They've done they've invested in hospitality, hotels, etc., investments. They have festivals, etc. What I'm saying is that there's this renewed sense of buy African and make African and celebrating African, even the way our hairstyles, etc. There's this sense of wearing who we are, our culture. I believe that the future is bright. I believe that all the elements that are there to make it a vibrant industry and a strong contributor to GDP of the countries within West Africa, everything is there. What we simply need to do is to make sure that these things happen in a systematic way, right? We need to make sure that there's a system around it, right? And actually in a systemic way. And so what that means is that the different areas need to be brought together, and then it almost be like a chain of reaction and saying that these systems must work efficiently. Now, what we need for that is that we need people that are not necessarily tourism professionals, but people that are very skilled in that. Because you've mentioned igniting, you need to ignite something and then it can move catalytically and expand. We need people that are system thinkers, right? And we need them to come and contribute their little bit or their significant bit to tourism.
Well, it needs the entrepreneurs in tourism,
of course,
to bring them together.
We have the tourism entrepreneurs, right? But sometimes people are also operating in silos. It's very fragmented.
It's left for you guys to bring them together.
That's what we're trying to do. That's why we have the round table. We're trying to bring the leaders together, the business people together, the government people together. We're trying to create that. But again, we can't do it alone because again, it's that sense of how do we ensure that we design the systems. And I'll finish with the example of Singapore. And Lee Kuan Yew knew that you wanted to develop tourism. And what he looked for were the professional lawyers, the infrastructure developers, the key technocrats, right, at these different fields that were needed, because they're the ones that would say, how does this work? Okay, we need this to work. Okay, make it beautiful. Then the tourism people can say, how do you enhance that for the visitor experience? Right? And so what we need, right, is that sense of those of us that are interested in travel or tourism in any way. If you're listening to this and you just feel like you want to bring your expertise to the industry, even for financing, we need people that understand financing, investment. We need more tourism investment models, because tourism is a long-term investment and short-term capital will not work for it. And so how do we also then dimension that? How do we start to create tourism asset classes? That's a lot of work, right? And there's that sophistication that is needed, and we can't do it all. We can simply just identify this and say, this is what is needed. But I think, and not I think, I know, because this is my career, this is my work. What I see, I know that the tourism industry in Africa in 20, 30 years' time is really going to be anchored on domestic tourism, and is then going to be anchored on regional tourism. And then we'll have international business and leisure tourism. And I can say this is going to happen because it's happened around the world. It's happened in India, it's happened in Singapore, it's happened in Kenya, it's happening in South Africa. So it's happening. And so it should come here, and it's time.
Good,
It's time.
good.
Yeah.
See, I would say this to you. One of the things I'm working on would promote tourism in Africa, because let me not talk too much about it now, but that's one of the things I'm working on. One of my festivals in the near future will promote tourism. Adun, thank you very much for being with me this 90 minutes now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ekene. This was wonderful, wonderful. And it was a beautiful interview. I enjoyed a conversation. I enjoyed every bit of it.
Good.
Listen or watch more episodes of Think Big for Africa podcast with new guests every week. Subscribe to ensure that you are notified whenever new episodes are available.